In the spring of 1775, tensions between the American colonies and British authorities had reached breaking point. The British Parliament had passed increasingly punitive measures against the rebellious colonists, leading to unrest and resistance in places like Massachusetts, where colonial militias began to organize and prepare for potential conflict. In April 1775, General Thomas Gage, the British military governor of Massachusetts, received orders from London to suppress the growing rebellion by seizing colonial military supplies rumored to be stockpiled in Concord, a town northwest of Boston. Meanwhile, American patriots, including figures like Samuel Adams and John Hancock, had been warned of potential British actions and had taken precautions to protect their interests. On the night of April 18, 1775, Dr. Joseph Warren sent Paul Revere and William Dawes on their famous midnight rides to warn patriots in Lexington and Concord that British troops were on the move. Revere rode through Charlestown, crossing the Charles River to alert the countryside, while Dawes took a different route, both spreading the alarm that the British are coming. Early on the morning of April 19, 1775, British troops under Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith arrived in Lexington, a small town on the road to Concord. There they encountered a group of colonial militia known as Minutemen, led by Captain John Parker. The British ordered the militia to disperse, but the situation quickly escalated. The famous shot heard round the world was fired, and the skirmish that followed left 8 Americans dead and several wounded. After the brief clash at Lexington, the British continued their march towards Concord, where they believed large quantities of colonial military supplies were stored. However, much of these supplies had already been hidden or moved by the Patriots in anticipation of the British advance. Upon reaching Concord, the British began searching for the hidden supplies, but found only a few cannons and supplies that they could destroy. As the British troops searched and destroyed what little they found in Concord, colonial militia from surrounding towns began to converge on the area. By mid-morning, hundreds of militiamen had gathered, determined to defend their supplies and resist British authority. Sensing the growing threat, the British decided to withdraw towards Boston, but their return march quickly turned into a harrowing ordeal. Along the route back to Boston, colonial militia, now joined by reinforcements, engaged the British in a series of skirmishes that became increasingly fierce. American marksmen used guerrilla tactics to harass the British regulars, firing from behind trees, stone walls, and buildings. The terrain favored the colonists, who knew the local landscape well and could maneuver effectively against the more cumbersome British formations. The British troops, exhausted from their earlier engagements and lacking adequate supplies, faced relentless attacks throughout the day. The road back to Boston became a gauntlet, with the colonists inflicting significant casualties on the retreating British forces. By the time the British reached Lexington, they were in disarray, their ranks depleted and morale shaken. The battles of Concord demonstrated the determination and military prowess of the colonial militias. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned by professional British soldiers, The American patriots effectively used their knowledge of the terrain and their ability to strike swiftly and unexpectedly. This marked a significant turning point in the American Revolutionary War, as it showed that the colonists were willing and able to engage in open conflict to defend their rights and liberties. The events of April 19, 1775 galvanized support for the Patriot cause throughout the colonies. News of the battles spread quickly, fueling outrage against British actions and inspiring more colonists to join the fight for independence. The battles of Lexington and Concord were not just military engagements. They were symbolic acts of defiance that set the stage for the long and arduous struggle for American independence. The battles of Lexington and Concord were not large-scale military engagements, but they had profound significance. They marked the outbreak of armed conflict between the American colonies and Britain, setting the stage for the American Revolutionary War. These events galvanized colonial sentiment against British rule and demonstrated the resolve of American patriots to resist what they viewed as unjust tyranny.